Here we see the city as a character in itself, modern, vibrant, and yet overshadowed by the omnipresent image of Lucien Cain. His face on the billboard is more than just advertising. It's a symbol of influence and control. Notice the transformation in Cain's eye as the title emerges. This visual cue foreshadows the duality of his character, both charismatic leader and something far more sinister. The neon-lit cityscape sets the tone for a world caught between hope and dread. Akira's solitary walk hints at the isolation that comes with seeking uncomfortable truths. Akira's reflection in the neon lights visually represents his internal conflict, torn between skepticism and the urge to investigate. The Gothic church, shrouded in darkness, serves as a metaphor for the fading influence of traditional faith in the face of new, charismatic figures.
The priest's warning is classic foreshadowing. He reminds us that evil often masquerades as good, a theme central to stories about the Antichrist. His concern underscores the gravity of the situation, emphasizing the need for discernment in confusing times. Akira's reaction here is telling. He's beginning to grasp the enormity of what's at stake. The cluttered apartment reflects Akira's chaotic mind as he pieces together the puzzle.
The news segment highlights Cain's growing global influence, a common trope in stories about charismatic antagonists. Akira's frantic note-taking signals his desperation to make sense of the unfolding events. But the question remains, what is the true cost of uncovering such a secret? Wide shots like this emphasize the scale of Cain's reach. His influence is not just personal, but societal. The sea of followers at the rally demonstrates the seductive power of mass movements.
Cain's rhetoric and supernatural display are classic methods of winning devotion, blending spectacle with ideology. The summoning of fire is a direct allusion to biblical prophecy, reinforcing Cain's messianic image. The crowd's awe is a reminder of how easily spectacle can override skepticism. Akira's realization marks a turning point. He now sees Cain for what he truly is. The newsroom setting introduces the theme of truth versus propaganda. The editor's skepticism is typical of institutional resistance to uncomfortable truths. Akira's plea highlights the difficulty of challenging popular narratives. The editor's refusal to publish Akira's findings is a commentary on the suppression of dissenting voices. Akira's isolation grows as he steps outside, now an outsider in his own world. The aggression from Cain's followers illustrates the dangers of blind allegiance. This moment of resolve is crucial. Akira chooses to act, despite the risks. Akira's intervention is a small act of rebellion, but it signals his commitment to the truth. The escape down the alley is symbolic of the narrow path truth seekers must walk. Here, Akira fully understands the gravity of his quest. He's now committed no matter the cost. The headquarters at night is a fortress of secrets, representing the power Akira is up against. Akira's infiltration is a classic investigative trope, risking everything for a glimpse of the truth. This moment marks the beginning of a deeper investigation, both literal and metaphorical. Akira's determination is palpable. He's crossed the threshold into the unknown. The dim corridor is a visual metaphor for the uncertainty and danger ahead. As the act closes, we're left to ponder, what is the price of truth in a world enthralled by deception? In this scene, Akira enters an abandoned warehouse, echoing the secrecy and darkness often associated with the rise of the biblical Antichrist. The tension as he approaches the shadowy figure mirrors the uncertainty and fear described in Scripture regarding the coming of the man of lawlessness. The strained interaction between Akira and Ryu reflects the division and mistrust prophesied in the New Testament, where the Antichrist is said to deceive and divide even the closest of allies. The solitary night setting in Akira's apartment evokes the biblical motif of watchfulness. As in Matthew 24, the faithful are called to remain vigilant, for the Antichrist's influence spreads under cover of darkness. The clutter and chaos of Akira's investigation mirror the confusion and deception warned about in 2 Thessalonians 2, where the Antichrist's coming is marked by all power and false signs and wonders. The highlighted phrase, "man of lawlessness," directly references 2 Thessalonians 2:3, where Paul warns believers of the one who will exalt himself above all that is called God, fulfilling ancient prophecy. The investigation into hidden finances echoes Revelation 13, where the Antichrist's economic control is symbolized by the mark of the beast. No one can buy or sell without his authority. The intricate web of transactions is reminiscent of the Antichrist's global reach, as described in Daniel and Revelation, where his influence extends over every tribe, people, language, and nation. The Red String Conspiracy Board visually represents the interconnected deceptions and alliances prophesied to accompany the Antichrist's rise. Mapping Cain Industries' global influence parallels the biblical warning that the Antichrist's dominion will be worldwide, as seen in Revelation 13:7. The exchange of glances between Akira and Ryu reflects the discernment believers are urged to have, as Jesus warns in Matthew 24:24 that false messiahs will perform great signs to deceive, if possible, even the elect. The city's transformation into a nightmare is a visual metaphor for the spiritual darkness prophesied to cover the earth during the Antichrist's reign, as described in Isaiah 60:2. The omnipresence of Cain's image recalls Revelation 13:15, where the image of the beast is set up for all to worship, symbolizing totalitarian control and idolatry. Akira and Ryu's observation from the window is a moment of lament, echoing the biblical call to mourn for a world deceived by the Antichrist's lies. The suspenseful revelation of a hidden chamber alludes to the secretive and deceptive nature of the Antichrist, who, according to Daniel 8:25, will cause deceit to prosper. The supernatural corridors evoke the signs and lying wonders of 2 Thessalonians 2:9, as the Antichrist's path is marked by the supernatural and the sinister. The close-up on Akira's face captures the fear and resolve that believers are called to have when confronting the mystery of lawlessness already at work in the world. The shifting maze is symbolic of the confusion and delusion prophesied in 2 Thessalonians 2:11, where God sends a strong delusion so that many will believe the lie. Ryu's struggle with the lock is a metaphor for the challenge of discerning truth from deception in the end times, as warned in Matthew 24:4. The glowing symbols and hidden door evoke the apocalyptic imagery of Revelation, where hidden mysteries are revealed in the last days. The demonic altar is a direct allusion to the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel and Jesus, a sign of the Antichrist's blasphemous self-exaltation. The contract signed in blood is a literal representation of the covenant with death and agreement with Sheol, described in Isaiah 28:15, a pact with evil at the heart of the Antichrist's power. The urgency in documenting evidence reflects the biblical call to expose the deeds of darkness, Ephesians 5:11, before it is too late. The alarms and chaos are reminiscent of the Great Tribulation, described in Matthew 24:21, a time of unprecedented peril as the Antichrist's reign intensifies. The shadows reaching for Akira and Ryu symbolize the relentless pursuit of evil, as described in 1 Peter 5:8, where the adversary prowls like a roaring lion. The global spread of Cain's influence is a visual echo of Revelation 13:7, where authority is given to the beast over every nation and people. The chaos and the march of followers reflect the mass deception and lawlessness prophesied in 2 Thessalonians 2:10, where many are swept away by the Antichrist's lies. News broadcasts serve as a modern parallel to the proclamation of the Antichrist's authority, as foretold in Revelation, where the world marvels and follows after the beast. The protagonist's retreat into darkness is symbolic of the remnant who must endure persecution and remain faithful during the Antichrist's reign, as described in Revelation 13:10. The sudden capture of Ryu by shadowy figures is a stark reminder of the persecution and betrayal foretold in Matthew 24:9-10, when many will be handed over to tribulation. Akira's desperate escape is emblematic of the flight of the faithful, as Jesus instructs in Matthew 24:16, "Let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains." The anguish on Akira's face as Ryu is taken away captures the sorrow and loss that will mark the days of the Antichrist, as prophesied in Daniel 7:25. Akira's isolation in the corrupted cityscape is a visual metaphor for the endurance required of the saints, who must stand firm even when all seems lost. Revelation 14:12. The fade to black and lingering unease serve as a reminder of the unresolved struggle, echoing the biblical promise that though darkness may reign for a time, the ultimate defeat of the Antichrist is assured in the return of Christ. Here, the title Apocalypse's Herald sets the tone, immediately signaling the viewer that this chapter will delve into themes of revelation and transformation. Notice the nightmarish cityscape. Melting skyscrapers and a swirling sky visually represent the chaos unleashed by the Antichrist's rise. This imagery is a classic anime technique to externalize internal and societal collapse. My children, embrace the New World Order. Lucien Cain's declaration is a pivotal moment, illustrating the seductive rhetoric often used by antagonists to justify radical change. Meanwhile, Akira's struggle through the warped streets highlights the protagonist's isolation and confusion, a common motif in apocalyptic anime. Akira, my dear, why do you resist? Look at what I'm creating. Here, Cain's shifting forms and the POV shot of his vision of the world serve to blur the line between reality and illusion, a technique that challenges both the protagonist and the audience to question what is truly desirable. Akira's shock at the false utopia is a critical commentary on the dangers of superficial peace, an idea frequently explored in dystopian narratives. Then you will be destroyed with the old world. Cain's transformation into a demonic entity visually cements his role as the antagonist, while Akira's desperate flight through a morphing landscape underscores the overwhelming odds faced by those who resist authoritarian control. The church ruins symbolize lost faith and hope, a recurring setting in stories about spiritual warfare. The sudden appearance of warm light and the priest marks a turning point, suggesting that even in the darkest times, guidance can emerge.
My child, do not lose hope. This darkness has been foretold, but so has the light that will banish it.
The priest's words echo the classic trope of prophecy in anime, reinforcing the idea that hope and resistance are integral to the hero's journey.
Faith, Akira. True faith is the strongest shield against the Antichrist's power. You have been chosen, Akira, to bear witness, to spread the truth. The final battle is yet to come. Take this. It will disrupt his powers, but only for a moment. The rest is up to you.
The glowing cross is a classic symbol of hope and resistance, often used in anime to represent the protagonist's new resolve and the passing of responsibility from mentor to hero.
Spread the truth, Akira. Let the world see the Antichrist for what he truly is.
Akira's acceptance of her mission is a turning point, signifying the transition from despair to action, a key moment in any hero's arc. The visual of Akira stepping out with the cross's light pushing back the darkness is a powerful metaphor for the impact one individual can have against overwhelming evil. The close-up on Akira's face reinforces her newfound determination and the personal stakes The citywide restoration of order visually communicates the ripple effect of Akira's actions, a common theme in stories about hope and resistance. The montage of people reacting to Akira's influence highlights the collective awakening that often follows a hero's stand. The final image of the glowing cross against blackness leaves viewers with a sense of hope and anticipation for the coming confrontation. As the credits roll, the thematic visuals reinforce the epic scale and emotional stakes of the story, inviting viewers to reflect on the journey so far. When analyzing the climactic setting of this tale, the broadcast center at night stands as a symbol of both control and revelation, a fitting stage for the final confrontation. Notice how Akira's approach, Cross Aglow, visually contrasts the darkness of the world she's about to challenge. This imagery underscores the classic theme of light versus shadow. The journey through a distorted cityscape highlights the chaos unleashed by the Antichrist's influence, setting the tone for the confrontation ahead. Cain's broadcast here is a classic example of villainous monologuing, using mass media to assert dominance and instill fear. Akira's interruption is a pivotal moment, symbolizing the disruption of false narratives with truth and conviction. The visual transformation of Cain from human to demon is a direct commentary on the duality of evil, how it hides behind a mask until challenged. This transformation sequence is a staple in anime, representing the unmasking of true intentions and the escalation of stakes. Akira's unwavering stance here is emblematic of the hero's resolve, a motif that resonates throughout epic tales. The ensuing battle is not just physical but ideological, light versus darkness, truth versus deception, while the reactions of onlookers reinforce the global impact of this struggle. Cain's rage at this point is a classic villain response to losing control, a trope that heightens the drama of his downfall. The hero's composure in the face of overwhelming power is a recurring theme, reinforcing the message that truth and courage can withstand even the greatest threats. The villain's final outcry as he disintegrates is a dramatic punctuation, signifying the collapse of his reign. Akira's emotional transition from shock to relief encapsulates the cost and catharsis of victory in epic storytelling. The global aftermath montage serves to illustrate the far-reaching consequences of the battle, a common device to show the restoration of order. The dawn breaking over ruins is a visual metaphor for hope and renewal after devastation.
The priest's words here reinforce the fulfillment of prophecy, a narrative closure that ties back to the story's spiritual themes.
The pan to the sky is a classic anime technique, suggesting both closure and the promise of new beginnings. The celebratory scenes worldwide emphasize the collective relief and unity that follows the defeat of a common enemy. The title sequence here acts as a reflective pause, inviting viewers to consider the cyclical nature of power and downfall. Finally, the end credits over a fiery lake serve as a reminder of the consequences of unchecked ambition, a fitting end to this epic anime tale.